Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Jens Nielsen. Thanks for being on the show, Jens.
Oh, thanks, Whitney. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah, I was pleased to meet Jens in Tampa at an event. I guess we had lunch or dinner together. I can't remember which now. And anyway, I knew he'd be a great guest, and a pleasure to get to learn more about him and his business. But he immigrated from Denmark and had a powerful mindset shift from being an employee to entrepreneur, which I think so many listeners can relate to. And I look forward to getting into that. But he's built a personal portfolio of 82 units in less than 3 years by leveraging a strong team and still working full time. Wow. He's also been able to share the benefit of real estate investing with more people by raising money for syndications. He was able to raise $350,000 in 7 days. Wow, that's impressive. Very impressive, Jens. So, Jens, give the listeners a little more about your background and what you're doing right now in real estate.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I mean, I immigrated. It's been a long time. In 1996, I came over on the boat, or actually the plane, from Denmark, and been like in IT and telecommunication pretty much for the last 20 some years, and then a few years ago I was like, this is a great business, it's good pay, but it's also a job, and if I decided to stop working one day, there would be the income would stop coming. So I was like, I really need to change. I really need to do something different here, because this is just kind of the rat race, as people would call it. So a few years ago I was like, what can I do to kind of really do something that would create more generational wealth, create some passive income and everything else. And I, after studying, I realized that real estate was probably the best vehicle. That a lot of people have found that that's a strong way to get into generating that wealth and that long-term income. And so I just decided that, hey, it's time for me to shift into that and start building a portfolio. So that's what I kind of got going on about 3 years ago when I started down this path.
Yeah, and so what was it that kind of or made you think of real estate, or kind of open your mind to the real estate, or had you thought about it for a long time?
No, it was really I had thought about for a while, what are the options I can do to kind of become more independent and really get some passive income. And I think, like a lot of people, you start to kind of explore what's out there. And I stumbled across a bunch of podcasts. I mean, like, somebody like you provides a lot of value to people. Like, so I listened to podcasts, like, wow, this is a very interesting model to get into. And I realized, so many people have really built a strong, portfolio through that vehicle. And so started listening to some podcasts, read the books, like everybody else starts, read the, what is it called? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And just started really to, I'm kind of an analytical person. So I just really dug into it, started understanding numbers, starting to see, how to evaluate properties and so forth. So that was the shift I had. And I was like, I got to build something for myself, not just for the person I'm working for.
So, I'd like to talk about the just that shift that that we discussed from the employee mindset to the entrepreneur mindset. And maybe help elaborate on that a little bit. Like from being an employee to an entrepreneur, which I feel like so many people can relate to, and maybe that is that something you plan to permanently do, and I guess what does that look like right now?
Well, I can't put the cat back in the box, if you will. I mean, it's that ship has sailed. There's like I really changed who I am as a person after realizing that if you really, a lot of people just go to work because that's what we learn through school. It's like, hey, get an education, become a doctor, lawyer, IT professional. Go get a job and work for somebody else. And if you save your money, by the time you're 65 or 70, you can retire and live on the beach for the rest of your life. And there's a lot of flaws in that. I've come to realize there's a lot of flaws in that philosophy because, you know, tomorrow, if your company is not doing well, you can be laid off and be just on your own. And if you haven't saved any money or have any other way of generating income, you just have to struggle to find a new job if that's it. And you really just, I think a lot of people think that that's security. You're secure if you have that job. In reality, you have no more security than what your employees, employers, business is, you know, what's going on there. And, you know, we've seen, I mean, I've gone through so many changes, you know, outsourcing to other countries and just disruption in technology and everything else, that things just really change very quickly, and you don't really have a lot of security in your job anymore, you know. So we really have to kind of figure out how can you as a person generate income outside of relying on somebody else's giving you a paycheck every couple of weeks, you know. So that was just that shift. And I was like, okay, how do I move into that personally? You know, I didn't want to go out and create a huge complicated business and start something up from scratch, because that would just be something that I'm not trying to create, you know, the next Facebook or something like that, because that would just be way too much an effort that I'm not willing to put in to generate. I'm not looking for this huge thing. I'm just basically creating, trying to just create some income that can supplement and eventually take over what I'm currently doing.
Nice. And 82 units, so that's a pretty good side hustle. So you know, tell us about you know, from the employee to entrepreneur. Now, you know, you're moving into being an entrepreneur. You change that mindset, which many of us have gone through. You know, I mean, I was raised the same way. You know, get a good job, and that was just what we're kind of taught in school, right? You got to get an education and get a good job, and then you wait for that pension, right? Or you wait for that retirement,
Yeah.
you know, to actually be able to live. And so anyway, moving into the entrepreneurial mindset has been a big thing for me as well. But, you know, tell us about, you know, when you started purchasing, you know, you finally pulled the trigger, you said, okay, you know, I'm going to buy a property, and then, from the first property to building your team and what that looks like now.
Yeah. So, you know, I have a tendency to kind of like, I do some research and then I take action. I know a lot of people get stuck in that analysis paralysis. Like, okay, well, I had some money saved up, and, you know, so and the first thing I really did, I reached out to somebody that I know in my local community that I know have invested in real estate. It's like, hey, you know, can I buy you a coffee? Let's sit down and talk about this. And he was like, just sat down, like, hey, these are just the things you need to look at. This is how you analyze it. And then the best thing that really happened to me, a very powerful question that I asked him is like, who do you know that I should know? And he's like, okay, yeah, we need to call this and this guy and this broker, and he'll help you out. He had, you know, worked closely with him. So I was like, you know, I called this broker, and you know, I started small. I found a fourplex, you know, and within a couple of months we bought a small fourplex, and this broker really helped me out. And he's an older gentleman and likes to help new investors to get started. So, you know, so me and this gentleman, we kind of hit it off, and bought a couple of fourplexes and 11 unit property within the first 6 months, just through savings I had, you know. On the market I'm in, this stuff is not that expensive, so I had the capital to do that. And then the next interesting thing, then not even a year, like about a year later, I found this 38 unit property that looked interesting. So me and the broker and a couple of friends, we actually decided to buy it together and actually kind of do a joint venture on that. So very quickly I went from just buying stuff for myself to getting more people involved into the deal.
Yeah. Okay. So a few things though there that we needed to talk about. So like this person that you went to and you asked these questions to, you know, about, you asked, I like how you said, you asked him, who do you know that I should know?
Right.
But even before that, how did you meet this person? How did you develop that relationship or meet him?
That was from a different common interest we have. I'm a cyclist and he's a cyclist, and he runs a local event that I've been participating in for years. So I knew him as from a totally different world. And somebody said, well, you got to go and talk to this gentleman. He knows stuff. And I was like, hey, can I buy you some dinner? And I did. And I really think, we are, I think it's a lot to do with, do you have a scarcity or an abundance mindset, right? Are you trying to hold stuff close to yourself and not sharing with anybody because you're afraid of competition? Are you afraid of people are going to take stuff away from you? Or do you really want to share because if you help somebody, what goes around comes around, right? So, he really helped me out and just said, hey, this is how you analyze a property real quickly and so forth. And we've created a great relationship, and we have some business ideas now that we may go into together and stuff like that. So just that abundance mindset. And that's what I've really found in this business is people are really willing to share. They want to help other people. And if they don't, I don't waste my time with them. I'm just like, hey, we're here to help each other. We're here to grow. We're here to create wealth for our families and so forth.
So you knew this gentleman before you had decided to get into real estate?
I did. Yeah. I knew him before. I didn't really know much about his business, and I realized he had, a couple hundred units by himself. It's like, wow, that's impressive. How did you do this? And we just kind of walked through that whole thing, and so that's just been a great conversation and a great way of, so we meet on a regular basis now. We have our own little kind of mastermind going. And so that's an awesome.
Wow. Yeah. That's so valuable. I just like to point out too, that like you never know who you're talking to. You never know how you're going to be able to provide value to them and them to you sometime down the road. Just like you had no idea, that this gentleman was going to help you launch your real estate business, and help really be a mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's been amazing. And since then I've if people have questions like, hey, let's grab a coffee, I'll talk to you about what I'm doing. What can I do to help you to kind of pay it forward, right? To just make sure that other people can learn and grow as I have.
Okay, so you bought a couple fourplexes and an 11 unit, is that right?
That's
and
correct,
then quite a few months go by, and then you find a 38 unit, and so the 38 unit. I guess tell us a little bit about how did you feel prepared or ready to do a 38 unit from what you had already done? Obviously, and we want to get into the partnership side of that as well.
Yeah, so I realized when the first couple of smaller properties I bought, I may not 100% have known what I was doing. They were small enough that I didn't feel too worried about it. Then, so I actually started really, educating myself, getting into coaching programs, surrounding myself with people that really know and really just getting the right education, because real estate is not super complicated. There's some very key things you need to know. And if you do those things right, your chance of success is much higher, right? So I got into some coaching. I joined a group that really has helped me grow and stuff like that. So I felt like, okay, I wanted to grow bigger because I knew there's a limit to how you can scale on an individual basis. Yeah, you can save money and buy properties. It'll take a very long time, but it's totally fine too if that's that's what you want to do. I was a little bit more impatient, and I wouldn't use that word, but I wanted to grow a little quicker. So I had found this property. It was actually listed on LoopNet, and I presented it to, I looked at it, and it was like a good price, and I presented it to my broker, and he said, yeah, even though he's 72 years old and owns a lot of stuff himself, he's like, oh yeah, I want more and I want to grow. So we looked at it, and it was a heavy value add property. And but we realized he had a team that could really help with the renovation, and I could bring some capital to the table and stuff like that. So we decided that would be a good partnership.
Technology is creating opportunities in the commercial real estate industry at an increasingly rapid pace. Technology-fueled innovations are enabling those forward-thinking firms to reduce back-office costs and risk, raise equity faster, and increase asset performance so that they can focus more time on activities that drive revenue. Today, IMS is the most widely adopted investor management software for commercial real estate firms. Visit us at investormanagementservices.com.
I wanted to, it's kind of out of the box a little bit, talking about partnering with your broker and just some friends. And I hear that, I guess more often, but I think a lot of people don't think about, that broker and him being a partner as opposed to just trying to sell you the property or help you buy a property, and so, they're wanting to make some money too. Right. And if they can, a lot of them don't, I feel anyway, that they don't really see the long-term game in real estate. Sometimes they're just like sale after sale after sale, and they kind of get in this grind, but sometimes, you can find one that really understands the owning some equity in that property could be a big change, from just going sale to sale to sale and creating some passive income. So, was this the same broker that you had purchased the first few properties with?
Yeah, same guy. He's a broker. He has a property management company. He has a virtually integrated company that does property management, rehab, maintenance, and everything else. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. And so, his interests were obviously aligned with, if we got into this property, he also knew that his company was going to help rehab and all this stuff. So his interests were aligned with ours, right? So it's just been a good kind of a good synergy there that way.
Yeah, I like that. So you've had a year really of building a relationship with him. You've done a couple deals with him, and then this one comes up, and that he has an alignment of interest because he can help. On what the management side and the rehab side, all those things that you talked about. And so anyway, that's really it's just clever, to bring them in the deal as well. And then who were the other partners?
So I brought on, as I changed I'm not an IT guy anymore. Well, I am, but my real passion is real estate. So I started talking to other people that I have in the, friends I have in the community. Again, cycling is my big passion too. And, I would say to people like, hey, I've been investing in real estate, and if I ever find a deal that makes sense, are you interested, and stuff like that. And, several people was like, yes, for sure, right? And then this deal, I had looked at a couple other deals that I'd made that looked promising, didn't pan out. So I had already talked to them and said, hey, this is what it's going to look like, and this is what the numbers may be, and stuff like that. And then when this deal came up, I said, hey, this is an interesting deal. It's heavy value add, so it'll take a while before we can get good income on it. But I also think the price we're buying it at and the rehab, it's going to be good growth of equity in this deal. And it was actually, I'm not being a person to go out and ask people for money, if you will, but it was actually relatively easy. I just partnered with a couple of friends, and they're like, yeah, here's the money, and we trust that you know what you're doing. We trust this guy that you're going to work with, and let's do this thing.
So once again, it goes back to those relationships, right?
Absolutely.
That you've built over a long period of time, most likely.
Yeah, and I think people, they want to get into real estate, they want to raise money, they want to do stuff, and you can't just come out and I don't think you can just come and say, hey, one day, oh, I got this deal, are you interested? You have to build that credibility, that trust, that just so people know what you're doing, right? And said, hey, this is what I've been doing, and just slowly, just anybody who wants to listen, just talk to them about it, right? And it takes some time, and I've done it for 3 years. So every chance I get, I just mention what my passion is and what I'm doing.
It probably comes out in conversation about cycling, right? When you're just having a conversation, just because that's something you're passionate about. And I think real estate kind of has to be the same way. You got to let people know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would rather sit down and talk about cycling and real estate than IT and telecommunications that I've done for 20 some years, right? So absolutely.
So Jens, thinking about, or the first part of our conversation, we were talking about going from just the mindset shift, right? Of the way we were raised, thinking, get the good job, all those things, and then learning about just the entrepreneurial mindset. And so I wanted to ask you though, somebody that's listening right now that's kind of on that fence, or was raised the same way, thinking that way, what advice would you tell them? Maybe they're thinking about starting out in multifamily or in syndication, and what advice would you tell them?
I think get some education. Either read a bunch of books, listen to a bunch of podcasts like yours. Just really understand the basics, because as I mentioned, it's not difficult, but there's some very key things you want to understand. I would definitely go multifamily. I have no question that multifamily is the right path versus single family or anything like that, just because of the scale and everything else. And then really, start networking. Go to your local meetup, go to your whatever RIAs you have in your local area, and then really just start surrounding yourself with people that are doing, I hate to use this word, but elevate your peer group. Find these people that are already doing what you want to do, and ask them questions, buy them coffee, buy them lunch, and just say, how do you get started, and try to add value. Sometimes they may have a way that you have some skills that they need to grow their business, and you can help them, and in return, they'll maybe mentor you. Don't go and ask, "Well, do you want to be my mentor?" Because like, no, I mean, that's just kind of no. Just kind of create a relationship, be that person, and really show enthusiasm, being enthusiastic around it, and really just say, hey, what can I do to add value to grow myself and help somebody else? And I think that's really where it comes in, and just be passionate, just talk about it all the time, anybody you meet.
I think it's neat that you already knew your mentor before you got into real estate.
Just randomly, right?
Yeah. And so you never know, who those people are. But what is your, what would you say some of your buying criteria right now? Like what are you looking for? What are some key things that say, okay, this is a deal I want to pursue or not? Just kind of high level.
So basically, what we look at are cash on cash returns on, 8 to 10% that we can return to our investors. If I buy it myself, if I have a bit of a longer term, I want something I can hold for 20 years, I may be a little bit more patient and said, okay, I can see that this area is growing, whatever, and I'll take maybe, slightly lower return up front, but have an opportunity to grow it over time. If I'm getting investors involved, that could be able to pay the investors 7 to 8%, and then, return an internal rate of return of 17, 18% over a 5 to 7 year hold time. Still, I think right now the value add, kind of a B minus C kind of workforce type housing is where I think there's still opportunities. But as it's really hard to find those properties right now. So it takes a lot of networking. It takes a lot of looking at deals and really understanding, does this make sense? So.
Yeah. What's been the hardest part of the real estate business for you so far?
I think it's getting out of my comfort zone. I'm as I mentioned, IT guy, has been sitting behind a computer for so many years, that actually being out there and reaching out to people, just kind of that whole, I don't know, networking is the right word, but just the outreach habit and really connecting with people. So, I mean, just becoming a much more outgoing type person, that's been a challenge for sure. Because sometimes you feel, if you call a broker, well, who are you from Joe that's calling the next day, right? And just really creating those relationships. But as I also mentioned, once you start connecting with people want to share, people want to give back, and people are open. And if they're not, then just move on to the next person. It's not personally, it's just business, and just get over it and move forward.
So, getting into the real estate business, and I mean, you really have to put yourself out there, like you're talking about, don't you? You have to. If you're comfortable, then you're probably not growing, or you're not really growing until you're uncomfortable, or really stretching yourself a little bit. And so it sounds like maybe you're more introverted, and so you've had to work to be more extroverted, or being able to reach out to people. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's just getting outside your comfort zone, and there's that idea of, if you continue to do the same thing, you continue to stay within your comfort zone, you're never going to grow, right? And I think that's really a key thing to understand is, that your amazing life is on the other side of discomfort, so really push yourself, really just go out there, and it may be a little bit uncomfortable up front, but hey, what's the worst thing that can happen? You get a no, and it's not a reflection on your personality or on yourself. It's just that didn't work out with this person. Well, there's many other people that you can then talk to and reach out to, and then maybe the next one is going to be just going to have that amazing breakthrough.
I like that you said your amazing life is on the other side of this comfort.
Yeah, and this is a quote that I did not come up with. I don't know where it came from exactly.
I was going to give you credit for it.
No.
So, Jens, what is a way that you've recently improved your business that we could all apply to ours?
It's really about, creating systems. And I'm reading this book right now, The E-Myth, Gerber, I think. And that idea of the technician who tries to start his own business and realize that he wants to be in control, really have to try to don't do stuff that you're not good at. Outsource stuff hand that over to other people that can do, your accounting, your taxes, your if you're doing, let's say you're doing direct mail, you hire some VAs to do that, So that's still a process I'm building and working on, because I wanted to do it all myself because I want to understand all aspects of it, but I am slowly kind of, moving some of these pieces out to other people, because I know how to do it, I can explain it, and then move on to the core stuff that I can really, grow with myself.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have you back to talk about these systems and talk about how you created a team and the capital raising part too that we discussed in the beginning. But unfortunately, we're about out of time. But just a couple more questions, Jens. What is the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
It is a daily routine. I get up early in the morning. I spend some time with some exercise, meditating, doing some journaling, and then just kind of set out the goals for the day. Basically, be deliberate about what's going to happen today instead of, there's another quote that I don't know where it came from, that idea of if you don't have a plan, the first person that you meet that day is going to make the plan for you. So really be deliberate about what you're going to achieve today. And so that's really the biggest thing that I have learned.
If you don't have a plan, the first person you meet is going to make the plan for you.
Yeah.
That's really clever. No, if you don't have and it's really a mindset thing. And if your mind isn't already just in gear of what's going to happen that day, of what you're going to succeed or going to accomplish, I should say, you're going to be swayed too easy. Right.
You'll just react to whatever comes your way. And, your boss runs in and say, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and say, okay, that's fine. I'll do it after I've done this that I had planned to do today. Right. So.
And how do you like to give back?
As I mentioned earlier, I've been, in a coaching and training program for several years now. And now I've actually started to do kind of my own coaching. So, because I feel like I've, learned a lot. So if I can give back and help other people to grow quicker and become more successful, that's really one of my passions too, is like, coaching people and anybody who wants to, sit down and talk about real estate. I'm just super excited about that, so just helping people grow and become a better investor themselves. That's really my passion and something that I love to do.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so that, the last question, obviously tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah. So my email is Jens, that's spelled JENS @opendoorscapital.com. And my website is opendoorscapital.com. And if anybody wants to get on a free call, they can go to my website, opendoorscapital.com/call. And they can schedule a free call with me, just chat about real estate, cycling, anything else. So that's just my way of just providing value to anybody that's interested.
Wow. Thanks so much, Jens, for opening the door for people to call or schedule a call with you. It's a lot of value there, and I hope the listeners will take you up on that. And also hope the listeners will go to LifeBridge Capital and connect with me, as well as go to our Facebook group, the Real Estate Syndication Show, so we can all learn from experts like Jens and grow our business together. And we will talk to each of you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.